check, oh, I see I didn't underline the y that I subbed in. We just do that quickly. So here we spoke about this yesterday already. They gave us y equals. All right, so that y is already isolated. So where we now see a y in the other equation, we need to put this whole expression. Okay, the important thing here, and the thing that actually makes this question a little bit more complicated, is the fact that there's a minus in front of that y. Okay, so now when you are minusing y, you are actually minusing all three of those terms, right? Because y is equal to all three of these terms. Okay, so you have to put that whole expression in brackets. All right, if it was just a plus y, we didn't actually need brackets for that. But because it's a minus y, you have to put brackets in. If you didn't, your signs are going to be all mixed up. Okay, so please just make sure of that. It is actually a good a good strategy that whenever you are substituting something in, always just put it in brackets, just in case. All right. So whenever you're doing the substitution, it will actually always work if you just always put brackets around. And instead of thinking, shouldn't I? Rather just play it safe and put brackets around. Hello. And from the second. That's fine. Please, hello, thank you. All right. Then from there, you will have to multiply this -1 into the bracket, right? So negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. And then we have a negative times a positive again is a negative. After that, you need to collect all your like terms. What was also nice about this equation is that it was already equal to 0. Right? So we didn't have to still do that as well. So here you have an x squared, that's the only x squared term. If we're looking for the x terms, we have 3x minus 2x, which is positive 1x. And then we have negative 8 plus 2, which is negative 6. All right. So then for this, you can use the quadratic formula. If you type that in, you will get that x is 2 or x is negative 3. But as we have been using the quadratic formula for all of these trinomials, but if you feel happy with factorizing this trinomial, and making your two brackets separately each equal to 0 and solving, you can still do that. So I'm just going to remind you, we did discuss it briefly on the Thursday. But if you see this, do we all see that this is a trinomial, right? And this is one of the easier trinomials because there's just a 1 in front of the x squared. You don't have to do this factorizing. I'm just showing some of you might be able to just do it quickly and then it's fine. Otherwise, you can just keep working with the formula. So to factorize this, you would say, okay, the last term is 6. I'm looking for factors of 6 because there's a minus in front. The difference between those factors must be the number in front of x here, positive 1. All right, so you would do x plus 3 and x minus 2 equal to 0. So if you wanted to factorize this trinomial, instead of using the quadratic formula, that's fine, you can do that. Because positive 3 minus 2, right? 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay, so that's why I chose plus 3 and minus 2. Then you would say, after that, you would say x plus 3 is equal to 0 or x minus 2 is equal to 0. So x is negative 3 and x is 2. Like that. Okay, or like we've been doing, just keep using the quadratic formula. I just thought that maybe some of you might be thinking, why am I not allowed to factorize? You are. Okay, if you like factorizing, keep doing it, it's fine. You get the same answers in mind. All right, so now when you have your two x values, you need to substitute both of those x values back into this expression for y to get the two y values that go with those x. Okay. Are we starting to feel a bit more comfortable with the method? Right? Are we fine with the actual method? Sometimes I'm sure the algebra may be so but that's fine. Just practice. Just practice. Right, 7.2. Here we go. You can look at 7.2. It was similar to the other one. They again gave us y already isolated over here. So this whole expression we have to put in the other equation where we see y. And now because it was the first thing and there was no number, no y, or no minus or whatever in front of it, you could leave your brackets out. Or guys, like I said, if you're unsure, just put them in. Okay, it's not going to hurt if they are brackets. Because now you can see what number is in front of these brackets? A 1. Right? Even though there is no number written there, we know that technically there is a 1. So you're just going to say 1 multiplied by all of these things, it will just stay the same. Okay, it will never be wrong to put brackets in. Okay. Then you just have to collect your like terms. So x squared negative 3x minus 4x is negative 7x. And you have negative 4 plus 14, which is plus 10. Right? Again, you can use the quadratic formula, or you can factorize if you wanted to. Get those two x values, and then you use those two x values to get your y values. Any questions on this one? Okay, if you still need to see it, you can come and just take a look and take a picture of it later. But 7.3 was a bit more difficult, right? This is one with the fraction. So again, they gave us y equals, so y was already isolated. Now guys, the past couple of examples that we've done, it was given in that way, all right? We mustn't forget that sometimes you will have to do that. Okay, remember the very first example that we did, we actually had to move stuff around to get x or y isolated. Okay, it won't always be given like this. So there, I just underlined that y. Now we must substitute that in. Yes. Yeah. Y here, this one. So it's 4 over negative 8. And 4 over 8 over 4. Okay. If it was 8 over 4, then. Okay, guys, so are we fine with this first line? And like I said already, you get a mark for doing that. Okay, so if you maybe mess up afterwards, at least you can get your mark for just taking the y and putting it in the place of y in the other equation. All right, that is worth a mark. That's a nice easy mark to get. Now guys, here, a couple of you came and asked me yesterday about this multiplication here. You were a bit uncertain about this. I'm just going to write here in this gap that I have. If you have 2 times 4 over x minus 5, because that's actually what we have here. If it's 2 and then in brackets 4 over x minus 5, we're saying 2 times that fraction. Yes? Now remember when you're multiplying something by a fraction, it's good to actually write whatever that thing is, 2 in this case, over 1. Because when we are multiplying 2 fractions together, we always do the numerators. So we'll multiply those 2. And then separately, we will multiply those 3. Okay, so you are actually only going to say 2 times 4. That's going to give you a new numerator. And then your new denominator is going to be 1 times x minus 5. Okay, you're not going to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. All right, only the top. That's what we've been doing. Every time you multiply by the LCD, we've only been multiplying the top by that LCD. Okay, it's the same situation here. So please just take note of that. If you did that multiplication wrong, then everything else will also be different going further down. All right, but just please make a note of that on the side somewhere in a little block. That is what is actually happening there. So when you have that 2 times that fraction, it's just 2 times the top and then 1 times the bottom. Okay, then once we've done that, you would have to times by the LCD, which is x minus 5, because there's just one denominator, right? So I did that 1 times x minus 5, there I wrote it out. For the fraction times x minus 5, the fraction, or the denominator, sorry, is going to cancel out. All right, be cancelled out by that x minus 5 that I put there. I'm just going to be left with plus 8 in that term. Plus 4 must now also be multiplied by x minus 5. And remember the 0 also. All right, but because it's a 0, it's just going to stay 0 in this time. Yeah, but remember, it has to be every single term in the whole equation, both sides. Okay, then after that, I just multiplied my brackets out. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. And I did it plus 8. Then this 4 must now also be multiplied in. So that is 4 times x is 4x. And 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Right, then after that, we have to collect like terms. So x squared, that's the only x squared term that we have. We have negative 5x plus 4x, which is negative 1x. And then we have 8 minus 20, which is negative 12. And we use the quadratic formula to get our two answers. And then I'm sure you are used to this by now. You take those two answers and you put them into this expression for y to get the two y values that go with those two. Now I'm going to leave that up for a little bit so that you can copy it down if you made any mistakes. These guys are hoping are still highlighting the mistakes that you made instead of just making a cross or tick. Well, I suppose if you got it all right, you don't have to highlight it. So a tick is fine, okay? And maybe a smiley face as well if you're getting a tick. Terrible. Okay, so Miss Tucker in this exercise, it's a bunch of little exercises actually. I'm just gonna have all this work. I haven't really looked at this yet. So I'm just gonna have it out and then I'll tell you what I'm doing. Okay, we're just doing like mixed examples they all together. Do some things, but it's probably work on Monday. I don't see you guys tomorrow, right? You realize that? So every second Friday, I don't see you guys. Oh, every day with me. So as long as I don't see you now, it's Monday. Okay? Okay, guys, can we look at this worksheet here? If we're looking at the monocycle on here, the one that I'm trying to do. Okay. If we look at this worksheet for revision exercise 8, right? Quadratic equations, all of these first 3 exercises are just on quadratic equations, which is what we've been doing this whole time. We've been doing different types, right? We just did some by factorizing at first, then we did some quadratic formula ones, then we did some simultaneous equations. I feel like we did something else. Okay. Nature of roots, like we also did. Yes, thank you. Okay, so here for revision exercise 8, when they're saying in number 1, determine the roots of this. What is roots? Solutions, right? So when they say determine the roots of this equation, they're asking you to solve for x. Okay, this is just a different way of saying solve for x. So please just add it there, all right? Solve for x. That's what they actually mean when they say determine the roots. Are they saying determine the nature of the roots? No. That's the roots. And they want you to actually get the answers. They don't want you to do that whole delta thing. All right. I want you to do number 1, please. Then 3A. I'm going to be quite selective because we haven't done everything yet. Okay, I still need to teach some new stuff, but I'll do that next week. So sorry that this is going to be a bit of a jumping around thing. I want you to do number 4. Okay, then in exercise 9, so those 3 questions from exercise 8. In exercise 9, I would like you to do 1A, 1F, so I'm just looking through the others. Okay, let's leave it at that because we haven't done surds yet. And these, I don't want you to do these fraction ones. All right, so it's just those two in exercise 9. Then in exercise 10, I would like you to say I want you to do C and E. Okay, then if you turn the page, guys, there are some simultaneous equations. You'll see there's also a graph there. We haven't done that yet. That's not drawing a graph or anything funny. It's just like, yeah, you'll see later. Don't panic about this. Word sums we also haven't done yet, so don't worry about that. Simultaneous equations, I would like you to do the first one. So 1A, 1C, 1E, I'm deciding. I see there's some exponent stuff as well. Don't worry about that. We're doing an exponent chapter after this one. Okay, so we're not going to get to this now. We will circle back to it later. And then I just want you guys to do G as well. Okay, we'll see how it goes, but you have about 45 minutes left. Cool, okay? I don't think the first half of this worksheet is going to take you too long. They're not, you know, there are some brackets, but they're not terribly complicated. But just, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yes. Yeah. But guys, if you are listening to music, I do want you to just listen to music, please. Don't get distracted by all sorts of other things happening. And if you don't finish this in a time allowance class, you're going to have to finish it early. Okay, get going, guys. Try and do this on your own. All right, focus, get in your little bubble. See how this goes. We are basically practicing everything we've done up until now before we start new, quite different things on Monday. Okay.